Hello my friends, welcome to my channel. So let's continue the philosophical discussion with my poor English, if you don't mind. Okay, so now we're gonna understand in more depth about manifestation, the mechanism of manifestation. So normally when we're talking about manifestation, everything is manifestation, right? Their life, their matter, their thoughts, their experiences, everything is manifestation. So where should we start? Normally, people would start as sequence like this: matter, life, consciousness, and experience. Because it sounds logical, right? First of all, it's matter, and then consciousness, and then life, and then consciousness. So eventually, we got experience. Experience is like the final product in a way. But actually, I'd like to talk about manifestation of experience first. Why? Because everything we understand, literally everything, is based on experience. Experience is like our platform. Like if you want to learn a software, you got to get used to use this platform first. You need to figure out if it's Apple, if it's Windows, or something else. Doesn't matter which platform, but you need to get used to and you know how to use this platform. You need to know the function or even the weakness of this platform. So this platform for us to let us build the sense and understanding for existence is experience. Of course, I'm not saying that our body is not necessary and our consciousness is not necessary. Of course not. They are necessary. It's like if you want to use a computer, of course it's necessary. You got to have this, keyboard and the screen, and also you need to have electricity. They are necessary. But if you want to learn something from this computer, then you need to learn something from the screen, right? That's what I'm trying to describe, why we need to learn this platform first. And the second reason, to me, is more important. Because experience is where matter and spirit or mind or consciousness, so-called, they converge. This is where they meet. That's the platform where they meet. So experience, we know that it's not just about your physical body. It involved in your emotions, involved in your mind, your feelings. So it's also psychological. So this is our body and mind meet. It's not just the pure matter, and also it's not just pure consciousness. It's where they meet. This is the bridge. And you know that I'm trying to build the bridge all the time. So of course, I'd like to know the bridge. I'd like to build the bridge and to understand this bridge first. Not even mention this bridge is our foundation for all our knowledge, for everything we ever know. So if we understand this bridge, we would easily avoid the extreme tendency of materialism and idealism. To me, that's just how it is. So I think it makes sense. Let's understand the manifestation of experience first. And then we're gonna go straight to discuss something that a little bit embarrassing, which is the limitation of experience. We cannot avoid, we have to face it because everyone knows there are limitations of experience. Is it true? Of course, absolutely. So we hear us saying that we can never know the truth. Or if you want to know the truth, you have to abandon all the sensory knowledge, including your mind, including logic, and eventually even including morality. So, do I agree with this extremism? You might know the answer. Of course, I don't. To me, these are way too extreme. And I'm a person always with middle way. So I'm not going to do that. And I think what's really important is that we need to understand experience. So first of all, let's discuss in detail what's the limitation of experience. First of all, it's highly subjective. Everyone's experience can be so personal. it can be so involved with their own mental state, their physical body, their background. When people look at the same picture, they feel differently. Somebody think this is beautiful, somebody think it's ugly. Listen to the same music, people think differently as well. So if you want to say like based on experience, and we can have like 100% absolutely objective conclusion based on only our personal experience, that's almost impossible. So yeah, in a way, of course, this is a limitation. And second thing is, it's also limited in how much information we can gain, especially in our sensory organs. We can only sense things in certain range. So there are limitations, of course. And also, it can be misleading for sure. You can always hear people based on their experience get sometimes some like really absolutely misleading biases or delusion or misunderstanding all the time. For example, if there's something happened to their mind, they could just have a wrong memory about what happened before, but they thought that was real. Or when you say something, you feel like it's like that, but when you say close, oh, it's just a picture. Or for example, now all the AI, people might think that's real person. It's AI. By the way, I'm not AI. So anyway, we can have all type of misleading information based on our experience. But even though, we shouldn't deny the fact that our survival and the action will require experience. Without experience, we cannot even survive, right? We need to drive cars, we cook, we communicate, we eat, and everything that make us as human beings survive till nowadays, to build everything, is all based on experience. So yes, experience can be misleading, but we can have feedback and we can correct ourselves. This is an important thing that we also shouldn't deny. So you see, this is how the middle way is working now. You don't go extreme to say, or because the experience is limited, then that's it, we are abandoned it completely. Or you just choose to absolutely just rely on experience. You choose the middle way. This is the wisdom of middle way right now, right here. I think we should honestly at least have the courage to recognize and admit that our entire human civilization is also built based on experience. When you go to the library, you see all the book, all the knowledge, and even AI. They are being fed with all of the information. That's why they keep improving. And all of these things require human intelligence and human experiences. Without that, without learning the mistake from other people, from the people before us, from their experiences, we couldn't improve. We couldn't thrive. As simple as that. So I think it's pretty clear why we shouldn't completely abandon experiences. Because experience is the foundation of the knowledge. Our understanding to the world, our judgment and decision are all built based on experiences. If you want to completely abandon experiences, that means you abandoned all the knowledge you ever know. And also, even though experiences are not perfect, but we can reflect, we can make it better, we can improve, as long as we understand what we did wrong in these things. That's how we learn from experiences. Then we can put it in the rational framework to analyze, to reflect, and we surpass it. So in conclusion, If you want to completely deny and abandon experience, it's just like you want to pursue some ultimate absolute knowledge, but you refuse to learn language, you refuse to read, you refuse all the logic and all the wisdom you can ever gain. That just doesn't work in reality. It doesn't work in reality. So the way of middle way is that we, at the same time, we recognize the necessity of experience. At the same time, we understand its limitation. We use it with a critical mind. So now, let's see what is the categories of our experience. Well, I'd like to just separate the two types. Well, I don't know why, but I always like 2, 3, 5. If I just make a category of things, I just always 2, 3, or 5. First and second. The first one, I'd like to call it physiological experience, which is by our sensories. What we see, what we hear, what we taste, what we smell, what we touch. And the second thing is gonna be our psychological experience, our heart. So yeah, that's how we feel, right? So it's very obvious like what they represent, but okay, let's just let's give it a clear definition. First of all, the physiological experience. That means those kind of experience you directly gain from your body senses, like you directly hear or see or smell or touch or taste. So this kind of experience, they are definitely highly relying on our senses, right? Like your ability to see, your ability to hear, your ability to touch, your ability to taste and smell. But at the same time, it also relying on your internal functions, like your heartbeat, your breath, or your muscles, because if without that, I mean, you're not even alive anymore, so of course. So it's all rely on your physical body. And this kind of experience, they are always direct and immediate. At the same time, it's highly related to the outside world, like what happened around you. And now let's discuss the psychological experience. Well, psychological experience obviously is regarding our consciousness, our mind, and our emotion. Is very, very subjective experience on these levels. It processes our experience which we gain from our senses. It processes this experience when we see something, and then we will have a feeling, emotional feeling about what we see, about what we hear, about what we touch, smell, and all these things. So it's like the second step, and the sensory is the first step. So our psychological experiences rely on our psychological activities, like our emotions, our intention, our imagination, memory, or thinking, or our value, these kind of things. Okay, so now let's start with physiological experience. Oh my God. You see, it just burned my eyes to see what I draw. It's just so ugly. So this is how my physiological experience affect my psychological experience. That's just how it works. Okay, you remember I drew this one in last episode. And I said that I'm gonna use this one to explain all the manifestation. And I'm going to do it. The first step, second step, third step, and this straight line is threshold. Let's give it a name 4. Give it a number 4. So I hope you still remember this one. Actually, I really love this drawing. I love this drawing so much because it's just so simple, and actually it represents so much in it. And me myself, I like simplicity, not just because the limitation of my language, but also I think if I can explain something very abstract and very complicated in a simple way, then that's a great thing. Because if it's not necessary, why I make so much like abstract concept or abstract words or things? As simple is the best. Simplicity is the best in a lot of way, at least to me. So let's discuss one thing. Where should we start to understand this 1, 2, 3, 4? Actually, you might think maybe we start from here. Not really. We start from here. We start from understanding the threshold. Why? Because this is the simplest one. This is the simplest one. Once I explain, you will know, yeah, of course, I understand. So yeah, it's simplest and is also the most basic thing that we need to understand. So let's start from this threshold. So in relational non-duality, we always emphasize one thing, that manifestation is not created by something. It's the relationship itself. It go to a certain condition. It go to the required condition, to the threshold, basically. And once it reached that threshold, then we can experience it. That's why we call it manifested. I remember this part we called manifested. Why? Because it be beyond the threshold. If it's below the threshold, we just cannot experience it. We cannot feel it, we cannot see it. So that's why we call it threshold. So this is what we call it for now, because we are talking about physiological experience. So this is our sensory threshold. Sensory threshold. Okay, so now let's discuss it one by one. About what we can see. Obviously, we cannot see all the light, right? We can only see a certain range. If this is like the infinite, I don't know, you can call it, but we can only see the certain range. A certain range. In this area, we can actually see the light. So that's the threshold for what we see. Obviously, same goes to what we hear, same goes to what we smell, same goes to what kind of taste we can taste, and also what we can touch. Well, I would say that in all of this part, touch is the part a little bit tricky, isn't it? Because you would say like, okay, if there's sound or a look, that is something, still you cannot touch. But when you touch something, that feels so solid. How could that be actually is some kind of basically, if you are like below or beyond the threshold, then that solid thing is not even there, or what? So yeah, I would say that this is a little bit confusing. It's about how we touch a thing. But actually, in fact, including pressure and vibration or temperature, all of these things, they are just different condition of tensions. And also our body itself is a combination of relationship. We also have tension between our body and things. That's why, because we have a material body. If you don't have a material body, then you wouldn't have the threshold as a human being. I hope this can be, it's a bit abstract idea, but there was one episode I specifically talking about it. Is it like re-understanding matter? I think it is called re-understanding matter. So that will be the episode to explain about how we understand matter. But it's okay, in the future we're going to talk about these things a lot anyway. So we also know that different species, their threshold are different. Some of the animals, they can hear or see more range than us. Some of them are a smaller range. So this is how we are. And that's why if they base on their threshold, their experience of the world can be completely different. And this is also why we invent so much machine, use technology. So basically, we are using them, to detect different things, different light and microwave and all of these things. What we actually do is to expand our threshold, is to lower the threshold. We're just lower it to here. So actually, we can experience the manifestation here, right? Because as human being, our threshold is here, but we use the technology to lower the threshold. That's what we actually do. So, based on relational non-duality, those kind of machines, they are not like creating or find out a new reality. No, they are not. They are just expand our manifestation of experience, this kind of the range. They just expand the range of how many of our experience can be manifested. That's all. So all of this, what we said, what we learned about this part, this threshold thing, it reminds us that our experience is always with conditions, is always limited. The reason why we can experience the world is because our sensory system is just right at a specific range, and we can match the certain frequency, the threshold, the range that we can match that. That's why we can experience it. That's all.